In 1983, Dirk Benedict was the ultimate TV heartthrob, earning a fortune as the charming faceman on the A-Team. But just as he reached the absolute peak of fame, he didn't just fall, he was systematically erased. Behind the scenes, a secret health diagnosis and a single scathing essay turned this 80s icon into a Hollywood pariah overnight. Here is the truth they didn't want him to tell. To understand how a man who was once the face of primetime television could completely vanish from the cultural landscape, you have to look past the glitz and glamour of 80s Hollywood. You have to look at the machinery that runs show business, a system that thrives on absolute compliance. Dirk Benedict was not a compliant man. Born Dirk Nevoener in the rugged, quiet terrain of Helena, Montana, he grew up far away from the polished, superficial sidewalks of Los Angeles. He was a country boy who hunted, fished, played football, and only tried acting on a dare during his college years at Whitman College. He had an innate, untamed sense of self, a rugged independence that simply did not mesh with the cookie-cutter demands of the studio system. In the late 70s and early 80s, television was defined by a very specific kind of masculinity. It was the era of the charming rogue, the handsome adventurer who could talk his way out of a gunfight and steal a heart in the process. Dirk did not just play these characters, he defined them. But as the entertainment industry began to transition from a creative playground into a highly sterilized, corporate-dominated machine, actors who possessed genuine, unscripted independence became a major threat. Dirk's sudden disappearance was not a case of a fading star losing his touch or age catching up with him. It was a deliberate, quiet erasure of a rebel who refused to let the corporate suits dictate his health, his writing, or his core beliefs. Before the A-Team ever became a global phenomenon, Dirk Benedict made his first massive mark on pop culture in 1978. He was cast as Lieutenant Starbuck in the original Battlestar Galactica, a high-budget space opera designed to capitalize on the massive success of Star Wars. Starbuck was a character who could have easily been a generic sci-fi pilot, but Dirk infused him with an unforgettable charisma. He was a cigar-smoking, card-playing, romantic opportunist with a heart of gold. Kids wanted to be him, and adults couldn't get enough of his on-screen charm. Dirk was suddenly catapulted into the stratosphere of television fame. But even then, behind the scenes, a quiet friction was beginning to build. Dirk was not interested in being a puppet for the network executives. He often clashed with producers over how his characters were written, pushing back against the flattening of these complex, roguish archetypes into safe, family-friendly products. When Battlestar Galactica was prematurely canceled, Dirk did not scramble to appease the studio heads. Instead, he maintained his distance, refusing to play the usual Hollywood public relations games. Then came 1983, and the launch of the A-Team. As Templeton faceman Peck, Dirk became one of the most recognizable faces on the planet. The show was an absolute juggernaut, pulling in tens of millions of viewers every single week. Faceman was the ultimate con artist, a master of disguise who could acquire anything the team needed through sheer charm and persuasion. On screen, Dirk was earning a massive fortune and enjoying the kind of fame most actors would sell their souls for. But off-screen, the gap between Dirk's personal philosophy and Hollywood's corporate culture was widening into an unbridgeable chasm. He despised the shallow commercialism of the industry, the obsession with youth, and the relentless pressure to conform to a sanitized, studio-approved lifestyle. But while audiences watched facemen outsmart the bad guys on television every week, Dirk was harboring a terrifying secret that could have ended his life before he ever set foot on the A-Team set. A secret that would lead him to outright reject modern medicine, sparking a war with Hollywood insurance companies and pharmaceutical giants that effectively marked him as a walking liability. What if I told you that the very diet that saved his life was the first domino to fall in the destruction of his career? To truly understand the depth of Dirk's rebellion, we have to travel back to 1974. At just 29 years old, long before he put on the military jacket of the A-Team, Dirk received a diagnosis that would strike terror into the heart of anyone: a tumor in his prostate gland. In the mid-70s, a prostate tumor was treated with aggressive, highly invasive medical procedures, The standard medical path involved surgery, radiation, and heavy drug regimens that often left patients physically devastated. Dirk looked at this path and saw a system designed to profit off illness rather than cultivate wellness. He made a choice that was considered absolute madness at the time. He walked away from conventional medicine entirely. He refused to even have the tumor tested for malignancy, choosing instead to take complete ownership of his own body. His saving grace came from an unexpected source. While starring on Broadway in the play Butterflies Are Free, Dirk worked alongside the legendary silent film actress Gloria Swanson. Swanson, a passionate advocate for holistic health, introduced Dirk to the principles of macrobiotics. Under the guidance of Swanson and macrobiotic pioneer Michio Kushi, Dirk completely transformed his life. He retreated to a secluded cabin, adopting a strict diet of brown rice, miso soup, sea vegetables, and bancha tea. He underwent a brutal, agonizing process of detoxification, shedding weight and enduring intense physical pain as his body fought to rebalance itself. Against all medical odds, the tumor disappeared. Dirk didn't just survive, he felt healthier and more energetic than ever before. But when he decided to share his miracle with the world, he realized just how dangerous his message was to the establishment. Dirk penned a deeply honest memoir titled Confessions of a Kamikaze Cowboy, detailing his journey of self-healing. The manuscript was promptly rejected by 20 major publishing houses. The corporate publishers were terrified of his anti-medical establishment stance, viewing his rejection of conventional cancer treatments as a dangerous public health hazard. When a small, independent publisher finally agreed to release the book, the backlash was swift and severe. Under immense pressure from powerful medical and pharmaceutical interest groups, the publisher capitulated. They pulled Confessions of a Kamikaze Cowboy from the shelves and literally burned the remaining unsold copies. In Hollywood, this was the moment Dirk became a marked man. The major studios operate on massive insurance policies for their stars. When the insurance companies caught wind of Dirk's rejection of modern medicine, they panicked. An actor who refuses doctors and relies on brown rice to cure serious illnesses is an insurance nightmare. If Dirk collapsed on a multi-million-dollar set, the financial fallout would be catastrophic. By refusing to comply with the medical establishment, Dirk had transformed himself from a bankable superstar into an uninsurable liability. But the final, fatal blow to Dirk's Hollywood career didn't come from his health choices. It came from his typewriter. In the early 2000s, the Sci-Fi Channel announced a highly anticipated reboot of Battlestar Galactica. For Dirk, this was a chance to see his beloved character, Lieutenant Starbuck, brought to a new generation. But when the casting was announced, Dirk, along with millions of fans, was shocked to learn that Starbuck had been reimagined as a woman, played by Katie Sackhoff. While many modern viewers praise this creative choice, Dirk saw it as something far more insidious than a simple creative update. He saw it as a calculated, ideological assault on the very concept of classic masculinity. In 2004, Dirk wrote a scathing, uncompromising essay for Dreamwatch magazine titled Lieutenant Starbuck, Lost in Castration. In this piece, Dirk did not hold back. He aimed his sights directly at the executive class, mockingly describing how the best minds in the world of unimagination doubled their intake of double soy lattes in their smoke-free offices to curse the day a charming, cigar-smoking, unapologetically masculine character like Starbuck was allowed to exist. He argued that the creative executives subconsciously loathed the classic male archetype and sought to castrate it, replacing Starbuck with what he called Stardo. Dirk wrote that Hamlet does not scan as Hamletta, nor does Han Solo function as Han Sally. He argued that a television show once built on hope, spiritual faith, and family had been regurgitated as a show of despair, sexual violence, and dysfunction. He claimed that the war against traditional masculinity had been won by a corporate culture that preferred cynicism over heroism. The reaction to the essay was explosive. In an era where Hollywood was rapidly embracing progressive politics and corporate-approved diversity, Dirk's words were treated as radioactive. He was immediately labeled a sexist, a misogynist, and an outdated relic of a bygone era. The nuanced, philosophical points he made about the erosion of classic storytelling and the unique value of distinct masculine and feminine archetypes were completely ignored. The industry used the controversy to lock the final bolts on his exile. Dirk Benedict had committed the ultimate sin. He had spoken truth to the corporate power structure, and he had done so with a razor-sharp wit that embarrassed the very people who held the keys to his career. To see how systematic this erasure truly was, you only have to look at how other stars of his era navigated the changing tides of Hollywood. Actors like Sylvester Stallone, Harrison Ford, and Clint Eastwood managed to transition from 80s action icons into respected elder statesmen of cinema because they understood how to play the game. They kept their political and health opinions relatively private, smiled for the cameras, and allowed the studio machines to package and sell them to changing audiences. Dirk Benedict, however, flatly refused to wear the corporate collar. When he was blacklisted, he didn't beg for forgiveness or make a highly publicized apology tour. Instead, he packed his bags, turned his back on Southern California, and moved back to the wild landscape of Montana. He chose to raise his 2 sons as a single father in a cabin surrounded by nature, far away from the toxic artificial spotlight of Los Angeles. He continued to write, garden, and live according to his macrobiotic principles, proving that his lifestyle wasn't a phase, but a deeply held conviction. His rare returns to the public eye only highlighted his unyielding spirit. In 2007, Dirk appeared as a contestant on the UK reality show Celebrity Big Brother. On watch night, while other contestants arrived in standard luxury cars, the 61-year-old Dirk arrived in a perfect replica of the A-Team van. He stepped out onto the red carpet smoking a giant cigar, with the iconic A-Team theme song blasting through the speakers. He went on to finish 3rd in the competition, winning over a whole new generation of fans, not by pretending to be someone else, but by being unapologetically, fiercely himself. He showed the world that while Hollywood could take away his movie roles, they could never take away his swagger. Ultimately, Dirk Benedict's story is not a tragedy of a forgotten actor, but a triumph of a man who chose his soul over a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. He refused to let the pharmaceutical industry dictate his health, and he refused to let corporate executives dictate his beliefs. In a town built on illusion, Dirk remained entirely real. He paid a massive price for his independence, but in doing so, he became a true legend, a kamikaze cowboy who rode out of Hollywood on his own terms. But Dirk Benedict was not the only 80s icon who was quietly pushed out of the spotlight for refusing to fall in line. If you want to understand the dark, hidden history of how the studio system systematically dismantled the careers of several other legendary action stars who dared to speak out, click on the video on your screen right now. The truth behind the curtain is far more shocking than you think.